Welcome to Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are ignited by Athlinks. We're at the Blueprint for Athletes Leadville 100 mountain bike race. Banjo James bringing us in. Thank you, Banjo James. Our first guest, 6-time champion of the Leadville 100, Mr. David Wiens. David, how the heck are you?
I'm great. Happy to be back in Leadville.
Yeah.
We've got a beautiful day today, and it looks like a great weekend for racing.
2,000 people here now. First time you came here, how big was this event?
I think that year, 2003, I think the starting field was around 500 or 600. So it was still a big race.
It was a big race, but what turned it around to, this is waiting list, selling out, getting a buckle here is legendary.
Sure. Well, the course itself, the venue, Leadville, 10,200 feet, the heritage of this place, this hardscrabble mining town, all of those things. But, certainly Lance Armstrong paying attention to this race back in 2006 when he first mentioned it.
Yes.
That was a big deal, and a lot of people took notice of that.
Well, and speaking of that, we can throw up our little graphic on the elevation. You're talking the challenge of starting at 10, going up to 12.5 or so, and then coming back down. Talk about the challenge of elevation. I mean, you live here, so probably not at that, but for other people, how tough is that?
Oh, it's very hard, and we hear that a lot. We do the Lifetime Fitness Leadville Race Series Camp of Champions, and we bring people in from all over the country, and so many of them are from sea level or just a few hundred feet above sea level, and that's a big concern for them because there's less oxygen here, and what they're used to being able to do where they live, they can't do here because the air is so thin.
So you've raced here 8 times, you win 6, and after your 4th win, going to the 5th win, 2006 I think it was, Floyd Landis shows up.
Yeah, 2007 Floyd Landis.
Floyd came in 7. That's right. Lance came in 08. So Floyd comes in 7. That changes the game. All of a sudden, you've got a guy who's got a different type of reputation.
It really did. And Floyd only heard about this race because Lance mentioned it.
Right.
And then Floyd jumped in, and really right up until the gun went off, I wasn't sure I was going to look around and Lance was going to show up.
Really?
So, well, yeah, because it was just unsure. He said, I think I've got a commitment. I can't make it. He had said he was going to be there in 2007, and then he ended up having something else going on. But you never know with those kind of guys. I was thinking he might show, but Floyd was enough to get my attention. So I started training hard for 2007. Not that I hadn't trained hard the years before that, but I was taking it more seriously for sure. Set up a really light bike, and that race with Floyd was, if I had to define, the most epic battle that I've ever had here, it was that year with Floyd.
Well, talk about that because it was like a 2 minutes at the end, right?
Yeah, it was pretty close, and really what happened with Floyd was we started off and we were together, and the first thing that happened that was interesting was that he crashed hard. It was just as we entered power line, we went around a corner and it starts to drop and it's really rutted, and he was going fast, and he just washed out and went down in hard, gravelly, rocky. His whole, there's pictures of him, his whole side is just hamburger. And, I stopped. I was the only one that saw this. I had a perfect seat. I was right behind him. There was nobody else around. And I stopped. I was like, Floyd, are you all right? And he's like, yeah. And he was pissed.
So you stopped?
Well, yeah. The guy crashed hard. And then so we get going again, and we're riding together, and we go through the Twin Lakes aid station, and we start up Columbine, and I'm on his wheel. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay on his wheel. And then within 5 seconds, I realized there's no way I can stay on this guy's wheel. He just powered away from me like I'd never experienced before we hit the trees, and he was gone. Just gone. I was like, I guess Floyd's going to kick my ass today. But then the lower part of Columbine is not as steep, and then up top it gets steep and rocky and nasty, the goat trail they call it. And then I saw him up there, and I saw that he was struggling, and I was able to get up to him by the time we got to the top. And so then, okay, maybe let's see. And we stayed together coming down, and I think he had a slow leak, and he had to stop in Twin Lakes to get a new wheel.
Yeah.
And then I had my own tire problems a little bit further on before Pipeline, and I stopped once and was going to actually put a tube in because I was going down slowly too. We were running some really lightweight tires, and it sealed with about 18 psi. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go with this. I think I'm good. It's going to be a little soft, but great traction going up. So. Right as I was getting out on the pavement before the power line climb, I looked back and I could see a tiny speck in the distance, and it was Floyd. I could see the orange. I'm like, oh man, I got a good lead. I think this is feeling pretty good to me. Not 8-9 minutes later, at the bottom of power line, there's a little group of people there, and they're all like, go Dave, go Floyd. And I was like, what? I turn around and he's 20 meters behind me. There, and I was, and that's that Tour de France time trial. He just put his head down and he just crushed those flats. Going through my mind was, okay, that's it. I'm toast. He's going to beat me. And then just as fast, a thought came in and said, you know what, this is steep and nasty. He doesn't like this stuff. So I'm not even going to turn around. I'm just going to keep going and see what happens. So I didn't look around again. Yeah. He never got on my wheel. I just rode the power line. And toward the top, I looked around a couple times, and there was nobody there. So I was like, okay, good. Head down Sugarloaf, nursing that low tire. Had great traction going up, was a little precarious going down because it was low and super rocky. Hagerman Pass gravel, the Turquoise Lake, and I get to the top of Turquoise right where it turns to dirt. Same thing. There's a group of people there. Go, Dave. Go, Floyd. I turn around, and he's right there again because that was a paved road, and oh man. And so again, I hit the dirt and punched it and over the top, and I'm giving it absolutely everything I have. There's not anything else there. And I get through to the bottom of the boulevard, and I start climbing that. And if he were strong enough to come past me, there was nothing I could do about it because this is it. This is all I have. I'm at my max, and I could turn around, and you can see a pretty good distance behind you. I could see that orange jersey back there. Yeah. But he never quite made it. And you can see the picture when I cross the finish line. They have it down in the office, and this the look is just. It was how I felt at that moment. It was really, really special. That was quite a battle.
Well, sub 7 too, right?
That was the first. Yeah, I was the first person to go under 7. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. And you had to.
Oh yeah, he forced my hand all the way to the finish line.
So now the following year you get Lance.
Yeah.
And knowing that this guy's coming and obviously his background, did you prepare even harder?
Yeah, I prepared the same way. And what was really interesting about that year was that we didn't know Lance was coming.
Really?
He never talked about it again. But that winter, a friend of mine in Crested Butte goes, hey, Dave, a friend of mine's cousin's uncle kind of knows some people that Lance know. And word on the street is he's doing Leadville, next August.
He's coming to your turf.
That's all I needed to hear was that Lance is doing it. And I don't think it was 2 weeks before the race that he actually said, I'm doing Leadville. But then I didn't panic because I had prepared as if Lance was going to be there.
That was smart.
So my preparation was in place, and I was ready for him. And that was a pretty surreal experience because Floyd had raised the game, but Lance just it was out of the park at that point.
Exactly, and that's when the numbers really started growing.
Oh, you bet. That that got people's attention, and they made a film that year. The film, I still hear a lot of people that are just now watching it for the first time. They said, "Oh, I watched that movie. It was really great. It inspired me to get off the couch and to get healthy." And so.
Good for you. So talk a little bit about what makes this race special. What's unique to me when I was talking with a number of folks the other day, they were saying, hey, there's not many mountain bike races that start at 6:30 in the morning and you're going downhill and it's 30-some degrees and you're going 35 miles an hour.
Right.
And before you get to the trails. Talk a little bit about the different challenges and the challenges of the course, the challenges of the weather, everything that goes into this race.
Oh yeah, no, it's unique. And when Ken and Marilee came up with this concept back in the early 1990s, they used the run as their template.
Right.
And they just created a mountain bike race. And when I first was accepted into the race and I got my race packet, I was looking at the map because as a bike racer, you're very interested in the course. Where does this thing go? What does it do? And it took me a while to figure it out. And then I realized, this is an out and back format. That's unique. There are no other bike races that have that format. So that's a special part of it, along with the start, the downhill start, the cold temperatures. I mean, for 100 miles, you need that whole day because they never built this race with pro riders in mind.
No.
They built this race with people in mind.
Right.
And knowing that there's going to be people that are going to be, everything they can do to come in under 12 hours and get that finish. So everything about it, 6:30 in the morning in Leadville in August, it's usually in the upper 30s. That's probably the average temperature. I bet it's 37 to 39.
Yeah.
And that's a different story. And you coast down that hill and you turn into an ice cube.
Yes.
And then you hit St. Kevin's and you warm up. But everything about this race, and people really get fixated on the climb, St. Kevin's, Sugarloaf, Powerline, Columbine. But half of this course is flat or rolling, and it really makes it more difficult. This race has, I think, every single element that I can think of that you need to be prepared for as a bike racer is represented in the Leadville 100. And a lot of times people forget that. They focus on the climbing, but this race has everything.
You've been second here to Lance, and you were fourth, and 6 wins. When you look back at your career, does that define you, the 6 wins?
I don't think of it that way. I had a great experience here, and I get to continue to be part of the Leadville Race Series through Lifetime Fitness, and I go to the qualifiers all over the country.
Right.
I don't race this race anymore, and people ask
2010 was the last one?
Yeah, people are like, do you miss it? And I say, No, I don't. I get to come here. I go to the qualifiers.
Right.
I get my fix for racing
Yes.
at the Austin Rattler and the Wilmington Whiteface 100 and the Lake Tahoe Trail 100. The stage race this year was a phenomenal experience. Brand new race, and we just had a blast. So I still get to race, and I still get to get my fix. But as far as defining me, I don't know. Leadville's been important to me since I was a little kid. I grew up in Denver. We came fishing up here.
Really?
My first pro race I ever won happened to be in Leadville on a mountain bike with different race organizers. It was called the Mosquito Pass Challenge. We'd camp around here. So I've been coming through Leadville
Forever and ever.
Forever and ever. It's a special place for me. And so more than anything, I wouldn't want the race to define me so much as this place in Colorado.
What's always interesting to me is a pro, you're always thinking about, who am I racing against? Who am I going to beat? And the age groupers who are out there, they're great, but they're sort of people in the race. Now that you're on sort of the other side and you're working the camps, talk a little bit about the when you look at the age group athletes and what this means to them. I mean, these buckles we have out in front of us, those are defining moments for these athletes.
You bet. Oh no, and it's very special. And what I'm seeing from this race and then the Leadville Race Series is we purposefully make courses that are more accessible than your average mountain bike race. Mountain biking, typically, it's a lot of single track. It's very intimidating. If you don't have the skills, you don't want to just jump into certain mountain bike races. But the word is out that, hey, the Leadville Race Series, it's mountain biking full on, but it's accessible. So we're seeing triathletes, we're seeing road racers, and we're seeing people brand new to cycling that feel like they can come either to this race or to one of the qualifiers, and they can get their feet wet in mountain biking, and it is a phenomenal sport. And we're seeing whether it's the 12-hour buckle or the big buckle coming in under 9 hours or making the cutoff at Twin Lakes. The people that I come to at the Camp of Champions or that I come across, they've all got those goals and aspirations. Maybe they've seen the film somehow, something in their life clicked, and they want to accomplish this challenge. And I always tell people that the race itself is just the cherry on top of this amazing experience of preparation, which is tons of training, and it really defines a section of your life, say from that time you get that card in the mail that says you're in, and this is real.
Good news and bad news.
This is
you're in, bad news,
this
you're in.
This is real, and everything they do from that moment on with their family and their career and different relationships, it all has that flavor of Leadville in it.
Love it.
All the way to the end, and then all of a sudden they're here, and the energy is palpable now in this town. It's just amazing. Last year, I rode my bike up Mosquito Passaways, and the sun had gone down, but it was still kind of dusky and light, and I could just feel the energy coming from Leadville, knowing that the Leadville 100 was the next morning at 6:30.
And the nice thing was you didn't have to worry about coming down that hill at 6:30 in the morning in 30-degree weather.
But I'm crewing for the Topic Ergon team now.
Oh, nice.
And that crewing is
that's
very
brutal.
stressful.
Yes.
I have to run out to Carter Summit, and I've got wheels there, and I've got bottles, and who knows what. They might come out of the woods going, I need,
Hey, I know you won the race 6 times. Where's my jacket?
And then after I see them there, I blast off to Lost Canyon.
I love it.
And do the same thing there, up and down, and then back to Carter Summit, and then hopefully to the finish line. And, it's great. It really is.
I love it. David, thanks so much for taking time.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Dave Wiens, 6-time champion, has been our guest. Again, this is Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are at the Blueprint for Athletes Leadville 100 mountain bike race. Banjo James, can you take us out, my man? Banjo James, thank you very much. We'll be right back.